Marhaban. Hello. My name is Ian Campbell. This is the 9th in a series of videos intended to teach you the Arabic alphabet and sound system and to prepare you to understand how to learn vocabulary words. In this lesson, which will be relatively short, we're going to learn two more letters of the alphabet, Dhaa and Dhaa. So let's jump right in with that. The next letter that we're going to learn is Ta, a connecting letter that makes the ta sound, the unaspirated T, not t, but ta, ta, ta. And it's an emphatic T. It lowers the pitch of the vowels around it. So it is the counterpart to ta, just like sald is the counterpart to seen, and dald is the counterpart to dal. So to make it, we're going to make a loop very similar to the loop we make for sald or dald. However, we're not going to add the extra tooth, but rather we're going to add a vertical stick like this. So it sort of resembles in English lowercase b. And again, it is the counterpart to ta. So we can have a ta alif here, and this will be pronounced ta. And we can have a ta alif here. Most people, when they're making the word, will go back and put the stick on at the end like this, ta. So ta, 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 ta. Again, just like seen and sald and dal and dald, we have ta and ta. So it's not particularly difficult. It's one of the easier ones to tell apart from its counterpart. But it does do something that we don't do in English, which is this idea of emphatic consonants. So let me show you how to draw it, which is not difficult. When it's by itself, you already have that up there. You make a big old loop like the loop for the sald. Usually a little flatter to the line is better. Like this. And then you come back and add the stick to it. A lot of people will add the stick right up near the top of the loop, like this as well. And there's nothing wrong with either one of those. Sometimes, when people make the loop for a ta, they'll put like a little curlicue at the end of that if you see the ta by itself or at the end of the word. That's not really necessary. You can make it just like this, and that's fine. As a first letter in a word, you're going to make the big loop, go on to the next letter, and then when you're done making this, the haikal or skeleton, you'll come back and put the stick on it like this. In the middle position, it's going to work a lot like sald, where it gets to be a more vertical loop, but this time without the tooth of sald or dald, just a big old loop. And this is why we need the tooth on sald or dald, to make it clear which letter it is. And then we come back and put the stick on it at the end. Again, a lot of people will put the stick more high up on the loop like this. It's just a kind of quirk of handwriting. I'm going to do it this way for now. And then in final position, just like with salt and dald, we're going to combine middle and end position. We're going to make our loop a little more vertical. We're going to come out and just make a little wee tail like this. The tail isn't really necessary. And then we're going to come back and put the stick on it like this. So I kind of compressed this letter a little bit. This isn't super well formed. In fact, let me redraw it a little bit. I have time today because I only have 2 letters. So then we're going to come back and make a stick like this. So this is the letter ta, and again, it's the counterpart to ta. So it shouldn't be very difficult for you to understand. It is like dald and dal. The difference is a lot clearer than the difference between seen and salt. So let me move on to my next letter, which is the letter dhaa. And it is like the Q of the Arabic alphabet. It's the least common letter. It gets the highest value in Arabic Scrabble, which is tons of fun to play once you learn vocabulary words. And it looks just like ta, except it has a dot. And it is the counterpart to the letter thal, the sound in this and these and breathe. And it will be that if we put an alif after it, whereas our new letter dhaa will sound just like that. Go back, stick, dot. So dhaa. Now, before I get into some examples, I want to bring up something that I talked about a little earlier in, I think it was video 3. So the letter tha in modern standard Arabic is usually not pronounced as a tha by native speakers. It's usually either pronounced like a sin or like a ta, depending on where you are in the Arab world. Ta is more common than sin. So, for example, the name for Tuesday is athulatha, but most people would say atulata, or sometimes asulasa. It is difficult to make the th sound because you have to use a tiny bit more energy to do it, to stick your tongue out underneath your front top teeth. Th, th, th. If you're feeling really lazy and don't want to expend some energy, it's easier to say ta, 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 or sat, sat, sat instead. And in the same manner, the letter thal is also a little bit difficult to pronounce for the exact same reason. You have to spend more energy to stick your tongue out. So many people will pronounce the letter thal as if it were a letter zay. I get a lot of students who are of Pakistani or Indian origin, and because they are speakers of Urdu, where this letter thal is pronounced like a zay, they will have a lot of difficulty learning to pronounce it as a thal. So, for example, if you want to call me professor, you will call me in standard Arabic, ustadh, with the thal. Oops, I forgot my alif. Good morning. You will call me ustadh, like this, which is professor or teacher. But most people, most native speakers, will pronounce this word ustaz instead. And only if they're making an effort to speak proper Arabic, and I'm putting the word proper in quotes here because all Arabic is proper Arabic, they will call me, only if they do that will they say ustadh. Most people will say ustaz instead because it's just a tiny bit easier to say that. And the same thing goes with dha. So most people won't pronounce it as dha. They will pronounce it as za instead, as if it were the dark counterpart to the letter zay. So if you have a native speaker teacher, this is very common for them to do this. That this letter here will be pronounced not dhal as in standard Arabic, but rather za instead. And this is just a quirk of pronunciation. Most people who are native speakers of English don't speak English perfectly properly and pronounce words perfectly properly, and it's the same thing in Arabic. So I'm an ustadh in standard Arabic, but most native speakers will call me ustaz instead, just because it's a tiny bit easier to speak that way. So watch out for this one. You'll hear all kinds of variations on it. If you're learning colloquial Arabic along with standard Arabic, as some programs do, you'll see the difference in pronunciation between words quite often. For the word for the number 3, for example, is thalatha, but most people would say tlata instead. So this is just something that you kind of have to keep in mind as you go, especially with the letter dha, which I've found is the letter that's most likely to be pronounced in a non-standard way. Let me give you a few examples of ta and ta and that and dha, and we can work through them as we go. So here we have tab, and here we have tob. If you've already understood the difference between sin and sod and dal and dod, this should not present a problem for you. So tab, tob. Tab, again, don't make the puff of air when you say either letter. Don't say tab, tob. Say tab, tob. Over here we have tir and then tir. The difference is a lot clearer with the letter ya than it is with the alif. So tir, 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 tir. And here we have tush and tosh, tush, tosh. And then I'm going to give you a vocabulary word here. If you just see it without its voweling, this word looks like tib, but it's not. It's got a shadda on the ya, making it a y instead of an e. And then when we write kasra with shadda, we don't write it down here under the line. We write it underneath the shadda instead because it's a little less visually confusing is the reason. So this word is pronounced toyyib. Say that word to yourself, toyyib. And toyyib is one of the best all-purpose words in Arabic. It means good, like you could be a good person. It means delicious, as in food. And it can also mean okay, sure, as a response to something someone else is saying. Hey, could you fetch me a coffee? Toyyib. Yes, I will. Okay, sure. So this is a great all-purpose word to know. Write it down and memorize it and use it to your professor, and they'll probably be really pleased with you. So say toyyib. Good word. Here's the difference between that and the in standard Arabic. Dhab, dhalb. Though in practice, a lot of people will say zab, zalb instead. You just have to get used to the way someone speaks after you meet them for the first time, and then you'll gradually pick up how to interpret what they're saying. Their. It's the is a kind of unique sound. It's really not found in other languages, just like do isn't either. So their. Yaduch, 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 yaduch. So get used to making funny sounds when you learn Arabic, because Arabic has a lot of funny sounds that English doesn't really use. My wife used to be highly amused, this was before we were married, when I was learning Arabic and would sit and pronounce words all the time. She's like, how do you make sounds like this? And she's a professional musician, so she ought to know. Yaduch, yaduch. And then I'll give you a vocabulary word, bulva. Bulva means ice cream. So go get yourself some, because you deserve it after learning the Arabic alphabet. You've got about 10 more letters to go, and I'm going to give them to you. But for now, I'm going to say ma salama.